I lost $500 at poker, so I could tell you this. The reason people self-destruct is because it is the most fun thing that you will ever do. Let me explain. So there's a scene in the Odyssey where Odysseus defeats a Cyclops. Even though he's trapped in a cave with no way out, he's watching his crew members be eaten alive, he's able to keep his head together, out with the Cyclops, and get back to his ship. And part of the trick is that he's given the Cyclops a false name. But as he's speeding away among the waves, he just has to tell the Cyclops who he really is. Cyclops, if any man alive asks you about the shameful blinding of your eye, tell them it was Odysseus, sacker of cities, who gouged it out. Odysseus, son of Laertes, who lives on Ithaca. Of course, now Polyphemus knows exactly who screwed him over, so he's able to ask his father, Poseidon, god of the sea, to give Odysseus, son of Laertes, hell. And Poseidon does, for literal years. So when I was a kid, I thought this was incredibly unrealistic, because wasn't this guy supposed to be the smartest man in ancient Greece? This was such a stupid move, and it was such a needless risk. The older I get, and the more I understand people and myself, the better these old books become, because they are very accurate about human nature. Because it's not your weaknesses that actually end up defeating you, it's your strengths. Because the flip side of every strength is temptation, and temptation is your real downfall. If that doesn't make sense to you, you should read an essay called On Talent and Temptation that I just wrote on my Substack. The link is in my bio. But anyway, back to how I lost all my money. So there's this term in poker called running hot, and it's one of the most classic traps that players fall into when you're doing really well. You're winning hand after hand, and then you get reckless and do something incredibly stupid. And that was exactly what happened to me. I had been careful and strategic all night. I had been doing so well. I had doubled my money. And then there came this one hand. My cards were pretty good, not the best. I had already called twice. I already had $200 in the pot, and then the other two players went all in. And the blood was thundering in my ears, and I knew I should think about it, but I didn't. I just shoved all my chips in and said, fuck it, let's go. And if you asked me objectively, hey, is a pair of sevens a hand to go all in with on this board? I would have said no. But the truth is, I wasn't even thinking about it. I was so on top of the world that I just didn't feel like folding. And yeah, I lost, and I was so mad at myself after. But I realized, every time I've really messed up in life, it's been some version of this. It wasn't because of a lack of ability, it was because of a lack of caution. Precisely because I was playing to my strengths and didn't think anything could go wrong. See, winning's not actually the hard part. The hard part is keeping what you win and not blowing it away in a moment of temptation. And I realized something really crappy. The reason that's so hard is because progress isn't fun, but self-destruction is. Progress requires chugging away at something day after day. Consistency and effort day after day for years. And that can be really satisfying, especially if you're working on something you actually care about. But it isn't fun. Self-destruction, on the other hand, is so fun. I'm willing to bet that every single one of us, including you, has fallen into the same trap that Odysseus did, whether or not we realize it. Like, the few moments before I lost all my money were the most fun I had in the entire 6-hour-long game. Self-destruction feels like you're invincible. It feels like being alive for the first time in ages. It feels like the glance of a charming stranger, like the limits of what you can accomplish.